All right? Now, here's the pivotal question. Drop down to verse 15. Go back to Matthew, verse 15. But what about you? He, meaning Jesus, asked, who do you say I am? Verse 16, Simon Peter answered, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. That's the thing that every person who wants to be in a relationship with Jesus Christ has to come to terms with. Who do you say that he is? And if you're a Christ follower, and let me say this carefully because I don't want to offend anyone, you can't just believe that Jesus is God. You can't just hope that Jesus is God. You have to know that Jesus is God. It's not something that, I believe that with all my being, and I hope it's true, and I'll find out someday should I get to heaven. You have to know, as sure as you know, next step you take is on solid ground, that Jesus is God. There cannot be any doubt about that in order to have a relationship with God. All right, drop down to verse 17. Jesus replied, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by man, but my Father in heaven. This was God's revelation. And on another note, it's kind of like Jesus is saying, you're clearly not smart enough to get this on your own. You had to have spiritual crib notes because you didn't get this. God revealed it to you. But my Father in heaven, and I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock, the rock being that God revealed to you that I am the Son of the living God, I am the Messiah, I will build my church. And the gates of Hades, or hell in some versions, will not overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Then he warned his disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Christ. Now, he warned them not to tell anyone, but then the next thing he did, and the next thing he said is very crucial. I'm going to put that last verse up here on the screen, verse 21. From that time on, from the time he had that conversation, from the time they had that revelation, from the time that God revealed to them and Jesus confirmed to them that he is God in the flesh, from that time on, he began to explain to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things at the hands of the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed and on the third day be raised to life. That, in essence, is the gospel. That's why the church exists today, because we're supposed to go out and share that revelation, the good news, that, hey, God in the flesh loves us enough that he sent his son, Jesus Christ, to suffer, to be killed, and he proved it by, on the third day, being raised again to life. And he did it for us to pour out his love on us. Now, for us as a congregation, the way that we go about doing that. I know lots of churches have billions of ministries and billions of things that they do. How many of you guys are familiar with Charles Stanley? Okay, that's not who I'm talking about. But his son, Andy Stanley? Okay, that's why. His son, Andy Stanley, he came out with a book called Simple Church. And I haven't read it yet because basically everyone that's read it has told me it's about simplifying what the church does. And if you look throughout the book of Acts, I'm actually doing a study on that for my own, share that sometime later next year. But there were very simple things that the church did. And those are the things that we as a congregation at Crossroads, things that we do to help us share the gospel. First and foremost is the Sunday celebration. We do the Sunday celebration so that we as the people of God can come together as the people of God and celebrate God. That's what the church is supposed to do. And whether it be, we try to set a buffet, so to speak, so that whether you are into the musical portion, lots of people love music and all that stuff, great. That's here for you. Some people love the hymns, some people love the new, great. I don't think you should limit it to one or the other. Just do everything, all right? But so the people that love the music, from time to time, some of you have noticed, we'll pass a microphone and have people share their praises, things that God has done in their life. We'll have people lay hands on one another, and we'll pray for each other, because there are people who, hey, that's what the church is supposed to be doing. And then hopefully the messages are Bible-based. That's why I asked you guys to open your Bible. I'm not making this stuff up. I want you to see that it's real. And everything that we do on Sunday mornings is about celebrating, coming to church as the ecclesia, the called, to celebrate God. And here's the hope that as visitors come in and they come check us out, they get to see us in our natural habitat. Because this is what we're going to do in heaven. We're going to be celebrating God. We're going to be interacting with the Creator. We're going to be singing praises to His name, some with music, some without. And there'll also be food, which is why we have food. And say, some people are like, eat before and then put your food away. Some people are like, eat after. I'm like, eat all throughout, because when you look throughout the Bible, every time they got together to study the Word and to sing songs of praise, they did it with food and fellowship throughout the Bible. So we put a lot of time and emphasis into the Sunday celebration, but we also ask people to serve. We ask you to use your gifts that God has given you to bless the lives of others. God didn't give them to you just so you can get a big head and say, wow, I'm good at this. He gave it to you so that you could use your gifts to bless the lives of others. Now, whether you use them inside this congregation, that's great, but we also ask you to go use them outside. Because if you look around, there's a lot of people in this community that aren't here this morning. So they won't see what gifts you're using this morning. But when you go outside into other ministries, into communities, and use the gifts that God has given you to bless the lives of others, that gives you an opportunity to, one, use the gifts and use them for what God gave them to you for, but also it opens the door for you to share with people. I'm doing this because God has given me these gifts, and He's given them to me so that I could be a blessing to you. Right? And we believe that as we come together and do the Sunday celebration, and that, as we come together and do the Sunday celebration, and as that we worship and celebrate God, and as we inspire you, hopefully, to go use your gifts and your talents, whether it be in here and outside of the community, that people are going to see that, and that people are going to get saved. Not because, hey, they're here and they're singing, but because, one, they get a glimpse of what the church is like. They see you using your gifts. And let me share this with you. I sent this article and a video to the board, but there is a movie coming out called When God Left the Building. And it's basically talking about the death of the church in America. Because no matter how you slice it, granted there are churches with 20,000 people, but every day more churches close their doors. And I don't remember the statistics, but every day there's I dare say hundreds, but I think it's in that level across the nation that just say, hey, we can't do this anymore. We can't do it because people aren't coming and there's only 3 of us and 4 of us. And one of the things they highlight is it's not about what's going on in these buildings that's going to draw people back to God, because it's not about what happens in these buildings that drew people to God in the first place. It's about what happens outside of these buildings, in your circles of influence, as you use your gifts, your talents, your skills, and as you share your story and invite people into your life.